Hey everyone and welcome. The sun is out, the water's calling your name, and it is the perfect time to grab a board and get out there. So whether you love surfing or you're all about stand-up paddleboarding, we're going to walk through a super simple guide to make sure your day is not just fun, but incredibly safe.
So you're all geared up for that perfect day, right? Of course you are. But before you dive in, just taking a minute to run through a quick mental safety check, well, that can be the difference between an amazing story to tell and a really bad situation. Okay, let's get into it.
To make this all super easy to remember, we're going to break it down into something I call the 4 pillars of safety. It's a simple, memorable check you can literally run through every single time you head out. Think of it as your personal 4-point check for pretty much any water sport.
And here they are: the weather, the spot, the sport, and the process. See? Simple. We're going to tackle each one of these step by step to build a full picture of how you can stay safe and feel totally in control. First up is the most powerful and unpredictable factor of them all. That's right. Pillar number 1 is all about the weather. Before you even think about putting a toe on the water, you've got to know what the elements are up to, specifically what the wind and the waves are doing, because they can have a massive impact on your day.
Now this brings us to something that is absolutely critical to understand: the direction of the wind. An inshore wind blows you towards the beach. That's generally much safer. But an offshore wind, that's the one blowing from the land out to sea, and it can be so dangerous, especially for paddleboarders, because it can push you away from the shore way faster than you think.
And here's why that's such a big deal. When you're standing up on that board, your body literally acts like a giant sail. It just catches that offshore wind and poof, you can go from paddling happily near the beach to being in serious trouble way out in open water without even trying. So the bottom line is always know the wind direction.
But okay, what if you do get caught? First thing, don't panic. The trick is to reduce that sail effect. Get off your feet immediately. You can lie down flat on your board and paddle with your hands, just like a surfer does. Or you can sit down and keep paddling with your paddle. This makes you a much smaller target for the wind and gives you a real fighting chance to get back to shore.
All right, so you've checked the weather. The next piece of this safety puzzle is the location itself. And that brings us to our second pillar: know the spot. Every single beach, lake, or river is different. You have to understand the specific environment you're getting into, including its unique quirks and potential dangers.
So what should you be looking for? Well, you want to stick to the safe zones. Areas with sandy bottoms and shallow water are fantastic, especially for beginners. And you need to be super aware of the danger zones. Stay away from port areas with all the boat traffic and learn how to spot signs of strong currents or rip currents that can just pull you right out. Seriously, knowing where to go and where not to go is half the battle.
Okay, so you've checked the conditions, you've scoped out the location. Now it's time to think about the activity itself. Pillar 3 is all about understanding your sport, knowing your gear, its limits, and, being honest about your own ability level.
For sports like stand-up paddleboarding or surfing, the essential gear is pretty simple. You've got your board and paddle, of course, but listen, the single most important piece of safety equipment is your leash. Never, ever go out without it. That leash is your lifeline. It keeps you connected to your board, which is your #1 flotation device if you fall off.
But just having the gear isn't quite enough, right? Before every single session, you've got to ask yourself, is it all in good working order? It's so easy to overlook the small stuff, but a tiny equipment failure on land can turn into a huge problem once you're out on the water. And here's a perfect example of that. Always check your leash. After a session, sand can get totally packed into the Velcro or the little swivel mechanism, and over time, that can cause it to just fail, right when you need it most. A quick rinse and a look over can stop your board from being swept away from you after a fall.
And honestly, the absolute best way to truly understand your sport is to learn from an expert. Getting a proper lesson from a certified instructor, it's not just for total beginners. They'll teach you all these little things about safety, technique, and reading the water that might take you years to figure out on your own. It is without a doubt the best investment you can make.
And all of this leads us right into our fourth and final pillar: master the process. This isn't just about riding the waves. It's about knowing the fundamental skills. Everything that happens before, during, and after, like knowing how to fall correctly and, just as important, how to get back on.
So let's take getting back on your paddleboard. It seems easy, but there's a real technique to it. First, you swim to your board. Then, you want to position yourself right near the center, usually where the handle is. That's the most stable point. From there, you kick your legs, pull yourself up, and get your body onto the board. You've got to practice this.
And hey, listen up, because this is a massive safety tip for beginners. Do not try to stand up on your board in shallow water. If you fall, you could hit the bottom and get seriously hurt. Make sure you are at least in waist-deep, maybe even chest-deep water before you even try to stand. That gives you a nice, safe cushion if you lose your balance.
Whoa. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Weather, spot, sport, and process. Let's pull it all together into one last final checklist that you can just run through in your head every single time. It really is that simple. Number 1, check the weather, especially that wind direction. 2, know your spot, avoid those currents and busy areas. 3, understand your sport, check your gear, and hey, maybe get a lesson. And 4, master the basics, like how to fall safely and how to get back on your board.
By following these 4 pillars, you're not taking the fun out of it, you're actually making sure you can keep having fun for years to come. You're prepared, you're confident, and you are ready. Now go have an amazing and safe day out there on the water.